Welcome to this explainer. You know, if you've ever stared down a massive mountain of Italian grammar rules and just felt totally, completely overwhelmed, well, take a deep breath because you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to transform that intimidating mountain into a really simple, highly satisfying step-by-step construction project. Think of us as the architects of your new language skills. We're laying down a rock-solid foundation so you can actually understand and use Italian with total confidence. Okay, let's dive into this with arguably the single most important question you could possibly ask when learning this beautiful language. Come si dice in Italiano? How do you say in Italian? It's literally your skeleton key for unlocking new vocabulary on the fly. And I promise you, by the time we wrap up this explainer, you won't just be asking how to say things, you'll actually be saying them out loud yourself. To keep this whole process completely stress-free, we're going to tackle the language systematically through 6 logical building blocks. We'll hit sounds and first words, naming and describing, taking action with Italian verbs, navigating daily life, the tricky irregulars, and finally, mastering the past tense. All right, let's get into it. Block number 1, sounds and first words. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Italian operates with a brilliantly streamlined 21-letter alphabet. Notice what's missing there on the right. The letters J, K, W, X, and Y are completely excluded for native Italian vocabulary. They strictly save those letters for foreign loanwords. So fewer letters actually means spelling and pronunciation are going to be so much more predictable for you right out of the gate. Once you've had the letters down, you've got to know how to greet people. In Italy, there is a really crucial dividing line between informal and formal situations. If you're hanging out with a friend or someone your own age, you just use the informal too and say ciao or ask come stai. But if you're speaking to someone you don't know well, maybe a professor or someone in a position of authority, you have to switch to the formal lei. So you'd use greetings like salve or buongiorno, and you'd ask come sta. It's this built-in sign of respect that is literally hardwired right into the grammar. Moving right along, let's frame this house. Block 2, naming and describing. Unlike English, where an adjective kind of just sits there independently doing its own thing, Italian requires absolute harmony. Everything has to match. This brings us to a concept called adjective agreement. The rule here is simple but completely unbreakable. Adjectives must match the noun they describe in both gender, so masculine or feminine, and number, meaning singular or plural. For example, if you have a group of happy female friends, the adjective for happy, contento, actually shifts its ending to match them perfectly. It becomes feminine and plural, contente. Let's actually put that into practice with some everyday vocabulary. I want you to visualize packing these exact items for a trip to Rome. You've got la camicia for a nice shirt, I pantaloni for your pants, la gonna if you prefer a skirt, le scarpe for those sturdy walking shoes, il capello to keep the bright Mediterranean sun off your face, and la giacca, a jacket for a cool evening walking by the Colosseum. Notice those little articles in front? La, I, le, il. They are already doing the heavy lifting of telling you the gender and number of your clothing. So, the crucial point is that while most colors follow that strict adjective agreement rule we just talked about, like changing nero to nera for a black shirt or rosso to rosa for a red car, there are 3 famous rebels. Take a look at blue, rosa, and viola. Blue, pink, and purple. They are completely invariant. That means they never, ever change their endings no matter what noun they happen to be describing. Welcome to the engine room. Block 3, taking action with Italian verbs. Italian verbs basically fall into 3 main families, and it's all based on their infinitive endings, are, ere, and ire. Think parlare for speak, correre for run, and aprire for open. Now, instead of purely relying on rote memorization, I want you to look for the patterns across these columns. Notice how the io or I form almost always ends at a nice round O, parlo, corro, apro. And the noi, or we form across all 3 categories, it always ends in iamo, parliamo, corriamo, apriamo. Seriously, spotting these patterns is your absolute secret weapon to fluency. But wait, how do we say we actually like doing these actions, or that we like things in general? Well, in English, you just say, I like the book. Boom, done. In Italian, it's a completely different math equation. It's called the piacere formula. You start with an indirect object pronoun, like me, add piace, and then the subject. So mi piace il libro literally translates to, the book is pleasing to me. It's a flip. The thing you like is actually the subject doing the pleasing. Okay, let's get into the practical wiring of our language house. Block 4, navigating daily life. Let's walk chronologically through a typical Italian day. You'll want to pay close attention to the specific prepositions used here. In the morning, it's di mattina, but then the afternoon shifts prepositions entirely to del pomeriggio. The evening goes back to di sera, and night is di notte. Memorizing these little structural words might seem minor, but it gives your Italian this incredibly authentic, native-like rhythm when you're making plans. And of course, navigating daily life means using numbers. The good news? Italian numbers are incredibly logical. You mostly just mash tens and units together. Venti plus do is ventidue. Simple, right? But there's a really fun little pronunciation exception when combining tens with the numbers 1 and 8. Instead of clunkily saying 21 for 21, that first vowel drops entirely to make it smoother. It becomes 21. Same thing for 28, 28. It just rolls right off the tongue. Let's move to and see how this builds in block 5, the tricky irregulars. This is where the language really gets its character. Let's take the concept of knowing. In English, to know is just to know. But Italian has this fascinating philosophical distinction. Look at the difference between sapere and conoscere. Sapere is all about knowing cold, hard facts, pieces of information, or knowing how to do a specific skill, like so nuotare, I know how to swim. But conoscere, that is about having a personal familiarity with people, places, or things. Conosci mio fratello? Do you know my brother? You don't sapere a person, you conoscere them. And then there is avere, the verb for to have. This one requires a major mental shift for us. In English, we are things. We are hungry. We are cold. Italians, they don't be these things. They have them. They have hunger, avere fame. They have cold, avere freddo. They even have years to tell you their age. It completely transforms how we translate human states of being into Italian. Finally, let's put the roof on our house. Block 6, mastering the past tense. And this brilliantly illustrates how beautifully logical Italian grammar can ultimately be. Building the past tense, the passato prossimo, is really just a simple two-step assembly process. Step 1, you choose your helper, your auxiliary verb. It's either going to be the present tense of avere or essere. Step 2, you add the past participle of your action, changing the end of your verb to atto, uto, or ito. Boom! Just like that, you are time traveling and speaking in the past. Now I want to slow down for just a second to look at probably the single most complex rule of the day. How do you actually choose between avere and essere? Well, most standard actions use avere. Ho parlato. I spoke. Easy. No agreement needed. But if the verb is about movement, like going or leaving or a change of state, you absolutely must use essere. And here is the catch. When you use essere, that past participle suddenly acts like an adjective again. It has to perfectly match the subject's gender and number. So a woman saying I went says sono andata, ending in an a. And there you have it. The foundation of your Italian house is officially built. So I'm going to leave you with this final empowering challenge. Che giorno è oggi? What day is today? E cosa hai fatto? And what did you do? Take a deep breath, look around you right now, and answer those questions out loud using your new vocabulary and that awesome two-step past tense formula. The language is officially yours to use. Keep practicing, and ciao for now.